A few weeks ago, I was at the Royal Academy of Dance's Margot Fonteyn International Ballet Competition. The Fonteyn was taking place at His Majesty's Theatre in London, home of Phantom of the Opera. Opulent venue, packed audience, talented dancers. Producer Sarah and I'm David Jays, hello, were making an audio report about the evening, and we went to chat to the queue waiting to go in. There were lots of proud families and teachers of the finalists, including a very warm group who were there to support a dancer called Jakob. They included his dad and sister, and their enthusiasm was infectious. There were 12 finalists. Jakob danced last in a new solo to Tchaikovsky he'd created with his teacher, and then in a bravura classical solo from Satanella. You expect dancers, especially the guys, to ignite their best fireworks in a competition. What was striking about Jakob wasn't just his height and his ease on that grand stage. It was also the way he matched dazzle with softness, with openness and heart. His performances crossed the footlights and communicated with us. So I wasn't entirely surprised when at the end of the evening, Darcey Bussell, the RAD President, announced that the Fonteyn gold medal went to Jakob Wheway Hughes. Jakob, it has to be said, did look surprised. The kind of modesty that seals the deal on audience approval. We were excited to invite him onto Why Dance Matters, the RAD podcast. So we know he's 16 and that he trains at Tring Park School for the Performing Arts. But what else? And why does dance matter to him? He's on his lunch hour from school, so better get going. Jakob, welcome to Why Dance Matters.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations on winning the gold medal at the Fonteyn. Can we start actually with the very end of the Fonteyn? Because the final had happened, you danced beautifully. Darcey Bussell came out, she was handing out medals, announcing the winners, and you did not look like someone who was expecting to grab a gold medal. How was it when you heard your name being announced?
Every time that I do a competition, I always think that it's a performance. I don't necessarily think about the competition aspect of it, because then I feel like it becomes more pressurized and I always end up doing worse. When it goes up to the ending bit where everyone does get awards, I try to just be like happy for everybody else and proud of everything that I've done and proud of everybody else.
Right.
So I wasn't necessarily expecting anything, to be completely honest, because it's the Fonteyn. I don't think I've properly processed the fact that it's the Fonteyn. So it was quite surreal. It was lovely. It was scary because obviously you don't want to mess up. You don't want to fall over grabbing the award or whatever it is. I was more scared, if anything, because it's just like having to stand in front of so many people and bow and accept something that's so lovely. I don't necessarily know how to put it into words because it's just a really odd feeling. It's very surreal.
And because I suppose when you're dancing, when you're giving that performance, it might be nerve-wracking, but at least you know what you're supposed to be doing. I suppose these other moments, like when someone hands you a big gold medal, you don't quite know what the steps are there.
I feel like if you do go wrong, then it's obvious in a dance to yourself that you've gone wrong. Whereas when you're accepting something, you just don't know what you're doing at all because you're not prepared for it. And I'm very much a person that likes to be prepared. Otherwise I get shy and I stand off and it's just very nerve-wracking. It was lovely.
Before the final, producer Sarah and I were talking to some of the people waiting to go in, queuing outside His Majesty's Theatre. And by happy chance, we talked to your dad and your sister, who planted the name Jakob in our heads. So that was very handy. And when I asked, will Jakob be nervous? How's he going to be now? Your dad said that he thought you'd be in the zone, focused, not talking to anybody, just trying to get your head in the right space to perform. Is that right? Is that what it was like?
My dad knows me a bit too well, because that was spot on, really. Before going on stage, you have to just block everyone out, and not in a mean way. Because obviously when everybody did their variation, me being last, I obviously clapped for everyone. I watched everyone. It was lovely because it felt like we were doing Paquita or something, where there's just a bunch of different variations and you all go on and off. So when it came to my bit, I was like, oh, this is my time to tell the part of the story. This is my time to entertain people. And because I don't take myself seriously, but I take this job seriously and this craft and this art. And I feel like if you're going to put yourself in such a vulnerable position where you have to play a role, you've got to do it properly. I feel as though, out of respect for everybody there and all the people that have bought tickets and all the people that have like facilitated me to come here, all my teachers, my family getting me here and supporting me, I feel like it's almost my job to get myself in that zone. So it's not just me doing this alone.
And like you said, you were candidate number 12, so you were the last of the finalists to do, first of all, your dancer's own piece and then your classic rep piece. I have no idea. Is it easier going last? Is it worse? How was that?
I have no clue, because to be completely honest, when I first found out, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go last. This is terrifying. But then I realised, obviously, one of my friends who won the other award for choreographic was going after me anyway. So I was just thinking, oh, it's like a show. And also we had the last grand piece that we all did together. So yes. I just felt as if I wasn't necessarily the finale anyway. It wouldn't be all eyes on me. It would be a group effort. And I think in thinking that, it calms you down.
You did look, Jakob, as if you were enjoying dancing. I mean, you certainly seemed comfortable on stage. Have you always enjoyed performing? Is that part of the appeal for you?
I'm very much not an eccentric, but I am quite an outgoing person, especially when it gets in a space where I feel like I can express myself fully without words, because it takes a long time for me to process everything and then spit it out. So when I have something that I do feel proud of and I've done it with other people, it's just all the hard work had led up to that. Doing it itself wasn't that hard. It was just making sure you didn't mess anything up. So all the prep had been done. So it was almost relieving, because I was thinking, oh, I just get to show the world what me and my teachers and my family and my friends have all worked on.
And we had peeked through from the wings before the final and just got the view from the stage, which is kind of incredible at this very grand West End theatre. Loads of red seats and plush and gold and everywhere. This is the setting you all deserved. It's absolutely as it should be. But what's it like to step onto that kind of historic stage in that kind of atmosphere? Is it exciting, or do you actually have to shut that out so that you can do your best?
I don't think I'll ever actually know what I do, because it's all like a fever dream as soon as I get off. I think when you think about it, it gets worse. So I get into my character and I have to be like, oh, I'm in the setting where I would be. Because obviously also I was doing Satanella, and it's not a princely, but I meant to be some sort of suitor or something like that for Satan, who's turned himself into a girl. So I'm meant to be rich anyway, and I'm meant to like be showing off and being charismatic and enjoying myself and center of attention. So I was playing that character, and obviously this lavish place helps in the fact that I can just get into character. There are so many seats, everything's in gold, it's gorgeous. There are so many people watching. And so I think the entire setting was perfect for the part that I was playing.
Right.
Hopefully. Well, it worked out, so exactly. I'm just going to say yeah.
No, don't mess with that. That does work. Let's roll back a little bit. How did dance start for you? Were you a tiny dancing kid from the age of 3 or 4?
Yeah, it was weird. I've always been a dancer, and we've always been a very creative family, so an athletic family. And so we like just doing everything. anything that we can. So my dad would used to like play music all the time. As a 2-year-old, I'd waft my hands up in the air from my cot before I could start walking. I remember my dad also showing me Billy Elliot when I was very young. And I was like, I want to be just like him. And then coming to Tring, obviously, I've met the person that was like the adult version of Billy Elliot, and it was very surreal. And I used to just spin around, and I used to kick my legs up in the air. And I feel like I only started properly wanting to do ballet at the age of 10 because my dad was like, you know what? I'm going to take you out for a year when you're 9, and you can do taekwondo and see how you feel about that. Obviously, it didn't necessarily work because I carried on with dance. But that's when I thought, no, this is what I want to do, because it's the only thing that I feel properly comfortable doing. It's a comfortable place for me. And it's a place where I can keep on pushing myself to be the best version of myself that I can be. Because there's no bounds. You get what I mean? You can do everything in dance, really. And so I like the fact that you can do anything. Because as I said, we're very like, we try to do everything that we can possibly as a family. I feel almost compelled to just constantly reach for new things.
And it is a tough career, and I can imagine a family being concerned that so young you're having to make that decision to take it seriously, because you do have to decide much sooner than people who will go on to do other things. Were they worried for you, or were they just excited to, like you, to see where this path would take you?
Obviously, my parents, they cared a lot, and they were very much like, this is a hobby for you at the moment. Treat it as a hobby. Don't put your entire world into it. But I think we always knew as a family. My dad definitely always knew. We used to go into Birmingham and do classes, and my sister would have to wait there for hours with my dad. And my mum would have to go out and find places for them to eat and stuff like that so that they could wait for me.
Yeah.
They've always been very supportive. Although, obviously, everyone's going to be hesitant about it. They warned me about it, making sure that I wouldn't go in there completely blind and get hurt. I think because of their warning, because also I'm quite, I wouldn't say stubborn. If my parents says, oh, be careful, I'm going to be like, yeah, I'll be careful, but I want to do it now. You pique my interest. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
I just find it like an exciting new world. You get to be someone else whilst you're on stage in front of everybody.
Yes.
And then people enjoy it. So what more could you want, really?
Yeah. And there's also learning ballet and rigorous technique and real hours of dedication and corrections. And you're not just dancing as the spirit moves you. You've really got to follow a very, very particular technique. Is that, and I'm sure for some people that just doesn't work. Clearly it does for you. So that sense of having to train in a very particular style, you don't feel that that holds you back at all?
I've always trained in several styles. I've always trained in jazz, ballet, contemporary, neoclassical, lyrical, tap to an extent, musical theatre, jazz, loads of different things. And I think because my head flits from one thing to the next, for me, I'll take different aspects of different things and fuse them into my ballet. And so obviously learning everything is overwhelming and it's difficult and it's hard and you have to put energy in. But then you think about it for like a second. When you get injured and you can't do it and you're watching everybody else do it, it makes you believe that you want to carry on doing it again, because obviously you're watching everybody else do it and you're jealous and you want to get up and spin and jump. So you can't lose yourself in the technique. And I think I have before, but thank God I've got teachers and people around me that will pull me back out and tell me, listen, you've got a soul in there. You can't just turn into a robot that can get their legs up. You get what I mean?
Yeah, what a
You've got to be
beautiful
able
thing to say. That's fantastic.
Self back up.
That is such a lovely thing to say. And so dance, it's taken you to Tring Park, like you've said, which is super prestigious dance school. There are people who are boarding there, people who are day students. What are you?
Oh, I board.
So in my head, it's like Hogwarts, but with dancing. Tell me that that's true.
Yeah. In my head, when I first came here, it was like a mix between, have you ever watched the show Victorious? This is probably very uninteresting, but it was mixed between like High School Musical, Hogwarts, Victorious, all of these like musical theatre, artsy, ballet, kid things. And because you're with everybody that obviously wants to do other things, but also you're with people that also want to do the same thing as you.
Yeah.
It's just lovely because everybody's artsy and everybody's energetic and everybody can't stop moving. Everybody to a degree is the same, but has their own celebrated, different, quirky aspects to them.
Yes.
And I think it's beautiful to be a part of it, because I get inspired not only by the people that have gone before me, but also people that are in my class, and not only by my teachers, but people that are younger than me. You watch people realize a correction and you'll be like, oh, that's what it feels like to realize a correction again. And then you apply that correction to yourself and then you're like, oh, it's even better. I feel like if you really go searching for them, because I would believe that every day is like an incremental day of working so that you can carry on building up constantly. Obviously you're going to platform and then go up and down, up and around, but it's a journey at the end of the day. You're not there for an ending goal. You're here to live your life, learn, and then once you leave, you're going to learn how to teach yourself and look at others and learn from them, rather than just getting corrections and doing that. So I like to almost correct myself, as well as listening to the teachers and getting corrections, but I like to also look at other people and see how they apply themselves, apply myself in the same way. It's just very inspirational seeing everybody do different things and do the same thing and just do everything that they possibly can, because that's what I want to do.
Going back to the Fonteyn then, there were, I think, 79 students taking part, young dancers from 15 countries all over the world. And everyone told me how bonded you all got really quite quickly, because it's not just a competition. It's the lead up to that is a period of coaching. And so you, I guess, get a chance to really make connections with each other.
Yeah, I think because we're all in this place of we've all worked hard, we all want the same thing, you get to appreciate everybody's point of view. And so you go in there and at first it's all like really scary and you think, oh, everybody's out to get you. No, they're not. Everybody's in the same boat. And so I think the second day, and I was like, I'm going to treat this first week, this first half of the week as a summer school.
Right.
Fully. And so I just enjoyed it and I tried to get myself back on top of things. I trained with the faculty there and they were lovely. And I trained with my peers and I made such good friends, and it's an experience, really. I think we were all trying to just keep afloat and work together and enjoy it properly. Because at the end of the day, you might not, in my head, I was thinking you might not get through to the second final. Mm-hmm. So enjoy this as much as you can and get as much out of this as you can by making friends and connections with people. It was such a nice experience.
And you get, as you say, coaching from Sarah Wilder, Endelyn Outlaw, David Nixon, really fantastic people. When you're suddenly with different coaches, not your regular teachers, and there's a new outside eye looking at you, is that helpful? Do they spot things that someone who knows you almost too well might not see?
I feel like, yes, in the aspect of the fact that I wasn't used to having them watch me. So I would push harder and I'd try to make it as fresh as possible for that person. And in doing so, I would either go wrong or I'd make it even better. And so if I did go wrong, they would point out the things that I'm doing when I'm pushing myself too far and like off kilter. Like if I'm pushing 4 pirouettes when it's only 3, and they'll be like, you fell out of that turn because you were pushing too hard because you were nervous and you were trying to impress almost. And so I do like having comfortability with the teachers that I'm with and knowing that I can be consistent with them, but also being with these new people, it was so fresh. It's like a breath of fresh air because you were put in a position where they didn't know you. To an extent, they were almost an objective eye watching you because they didn't know who you were. They didn't know anything about you. They didn't know what your max amount of turns, how high your legs go. They didn't know any of these technical features that you possess. Yes. So all they were really looking for was the energy that you gave off, the performance you gave, and how comfortable you were to watch. I remember we were doing one rehearsal with Endelyn, and she was so comforting and lovely and warm and nice and almost calming. She said to me, calm it down. Whatever happens in each performance, that's what happened for that performance. You can't change it. It's just a different version of the dance. Think of it like that. And it calmed me down, and I was able to do it the best I'd ever done because it was a completely different correction that I had before.
Yeah. This isn't the be-all and end-all.
Because also, it's not necessarily that. It's the fact that we'd all trained rigorously these solos, and we'd all drilled them into our bodies to a point where it could look stale even to someone who hadn't watched it before. You get what I mean?
Right.
So it could be your first time watching this dance. You could be like, oh, that fell flat. It was a bit boring. Whereas when she said to me, oh, try to like make it new for someone who's watched it 3 times already, and calm down and relax, and whatever happens in it, happens in it. It was lovely to do because I felt comfortable in doing what it was. I felt like I was really expressing the story rather than focusing on whether my leg was turned out or how high it was, or like how many turns I did at the end. It was so much more fun.
And we touched on this a bit before when we were talking about ballet technique, but in the Fonteyn, in any performance, you have to make a piece not just technically correct, but really make it feel like your own. Feel that this is a performance that only Jakob could give. And this is a stupid question because it's probably impossible to answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. How do you do that?
You know what it is? I think the one that I did, which was neoclassical, wasn't just my choreography. It was also a collaboration with my teacher, Dame Darcey.
Yeah.
And I think he helped me the most in the fact that he said, strip it back and keep it vulnerable. Don't add a bunch of tricks in there. Keep it almost classic. And I was thinking to myself, yes. And the story was about young Apollo, the story that when you're growing up, you see life so like wonders in your eyes, and it's all gorgeous to look at, and everything's so like fanciful, and that's fantastic, and it's lovely to look at. And so I feel like I was, obviously as a young person, you're going to make mistakes and you're going to get back up. It was meant to show the vulnerability of growing up in any world, no matter which one you'd be in as a young adult, trying to like figure your way around. It's almost a vague topic because you could say to any teenage dancer, like, act like a teenager who's going through a journey. So I was just thinking, oh, this is my journey. I'm going to take aspects from my life and throw them in here and there and just try and tell the story I'm on right now. And the end of that story is me at the Fonteyn on that stage doing it. It was lovely because the ending felt genuine and raw and really personal because I made it personal in my head. It was more visualization than stripping it back. Because the other variation is me putting on a character. This variation was more, this is me.
Right. But what was lovely about both of them was that it must be tempting, I guess, in a competition to just do all your fireworks and just go for the razzle dazzle and the things that are going to be really attention grabbing. And obviously there was some of that, but also it was exactly that sense of vulnerability. It was really, I think that really communicated. That was really startling. So look, I mean, I know dance is insanely demanding when you're at your level, but what is Jakob outside dance like? What's he interested in? Or is there no space for that at all?
No, I think there's a lot of space for that actually, because obviously we do rigorous training here at Tring. I am a dancer, but I'm also a person that does dance. Mm-hmm. So I like other things. I like painting, I like art, I like music, I like so many other things. And I still do A-levels and I'm still doing schooling. And I still have friends and I still go out with them and I still go for walks and stuff like that. And I still go back to my family because I'm not so hyper fixated on I need to be a ballet dancer for my future. I'm more, this is a journey. I'm at this school. I'm lucky to be here. I'm enjoying it now. And obviously I want to become a dancer and I want to become a professional. I want to get into a company. But as of right now, I can't really necessarily do anything but carry on the trajectory that I'm on, carry on incrementally improving. rather than just constantly trying to push myself to be a professional. I'm trying to just enjoy life, because then you can put it into your dancing. Because if there's no room for anything else but dance, I don't feel as if I'd be able to dance properly.
What are your hopes for where dance might take you? What in your head does that journey look like?
Hopefully it takes me anywhere and everywhere it wants to. To be completely honest, I'm just here for the ride. I'm trying my hardest. I want to do everything I can. I feel like I've become more open to saying yes to things, because what am I going to lose? You get what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd rather properly enjoy everything. So if it takes me to another country where I don't know how to speak the language, I'll try to learn the language and I'll get on with it. If it keeps me where I am and in London or another English place, a British company, or even becoming a freelance dancer, I'll take that ride as well. I feel like there's pros and cons to everything, so it's just best to look at the pros and figure out the cons later.
Perfect. Before we let you go to continue that journey and take that ride, it's time for the final question. Jakob, Fonteyn gold medalist, why does dance matter to you?
I don't think I'm necessarily prepped enough for this question, for one. I think it's such a personal thing, because it's something that I've just always naturally had an affinity to, and I've always naturally been able to push myself in it. And because it's just boundless, and it's like any other art, it's boundless and creativity, and you can do whatever you want, yet you still have to have discipline and still need to learn all of these different insane things. I think it matters because, one, art is important and art matters, and it's one of the only things that can't be almost robotically engineered dancing, because nobody necessarily wants to see a robot dance. So that's one. But also, I think it's what keeps us all connected as a unit, as not only different countries, but as a whole human race. And I feel like anybody can dance, even if it's awful dancing in your kitchen when you're washing up the dishes. Like, that's still amazingly fun to watch and amazingly fun to do. But no, I think it's just a really great way of expressing oneself. I think it's everything. You can just do anything with it. And so that's why it's important to me, because if I'm sad, then I can dance. If I'm happy, like insanely happy, then I can dance. Even if I'm feeling anger, which is very rare, hopefully, but then I can dance. So you can put it into anything, whereas there's nothing against these other things. Like, you can do maths. I mean, if I was doing maths, I could not do it when I'm upset or angry. I'd have to be in a constant, like, focused mind state. You can dance wherever, whenever. You can do it. Anybody can do it. And I feel like it's just such a unifying thing, and you can find yourself through it. And I think that's just such a wonderful thing. Sorry, I went around the houses on that one, because I didn't necessarily plan it very well.
It's around the houses question. That's what it is. So no, that is just perfect. Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to speak to you. Congratulations again, and thank you. The most patronising thing you can say to someone is, "I can't believe you're just 16. But honestly, I think back to my own awkward, inarticulate, generally terrified of life teenage self, and I think, I can't believe Jakob is just 16. It shouldn't be a surprise that any young person is thoughtful and eloquent, though Jakob is all of that and more. Let's all look out for his future performances. I think they'll be special. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Please do subscribe, like or review the podcast so that people who might enjoy Why Dance Matters can find us. There are also links to the Fonteyn, everything RAD, in our show notes. Our guest today was Jakob Wheway Hughes. Why Dance Matters is made by the RAD team of Niamh Carey-Furness, Keisha Dodd and Katie Hagan, and our artwork is by Bex Glendinning. And our producer is the always thoughtful and eloquent Sarah Miles. I'm David Jays. Take care and see you soon.